The violent shaking of the cockpit jolted Jack awake. Red warning lights flashed across his control panel as his scout ship plummeted through the atmosphere of planet XO3, an unexplored world in the outer rim. The ship's hull groaned under the stress of entry, pieces of the thermal shielding breaking away. "Computer, status report," Jack commanded, his fingers dancing across the controls. The response came through broken static. Critical damage. Main engine failure. Landing systems offline. Through the viewport, he could see the alien landscape rushing up to meet him, a rust-colored terrain dotted with sharp rock formations and deep canyons. The toxic atmosphere gave everything a sickly green tinge. Jack pulled hard on the controls, trying to level out the ship's descent. At the last moment, he managed to fire the emergency thrusters. The impact still felt like being hit by a truck. Metal screamed and twisted as the ship carved a deep groove into the planet's surface before finally coming to rest. Jack's environmental suit automatically sealed itself, protecting him from the caustic atmosphere. His head throbbing, he ran a quick check of his vital signs. Nothing broken, but plenty of bruises to show for it. The ship's computer was dead, and with it any hope of sending a distress signal. That's when he saw it. Another crashed ship about half a kilometer away. Its design was unmistakable. Drachnid technology. The enemy. Black smoke rose from its hull, suggesting a recent crash. "Perfect," Jack muttered. "Just perfect." The war between humans and drachnids had been raging for 3 years now. Both sides blamed the other for starting it, and neither seemed interested in ending it. Survival instinct warred with military training as Jack considered his options. The toxic atmosphere meant his suit's oxygen supply was limited. He needed supplies and parts to repair his communication system. The drachnid ship might have what he needed, if its crew hadn't survived. A movement near the alien ship made the decision for him. A figure in a damaged environmental suit stumbled out of the wreckage. The drachnid was clearly injured, moving with difficulty across the rocky ground. Jack's hand moved to his sidearm, then stopped. The drachnid wasn't wearing military armor, and its movements showed no sign of aggression. If anything, it seemed to be searching for something. A piercing screech filled the air. Both Jack and the drachnid looked up to see a massive flying creature circling overhead. Its wingspan had to be at least 15 meters, and its skin seemed to be resistant to the caustic atmosphere. The creature dove toward the injured drachnid. Without thinking, Jack raised his weapon and fired 3 shots. The beast veered away with an angry cry, but Jack knew it would return. The drachnid turned toward him, clearly surprised by his intervention. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the barren landscape. Then Jack heard more screeching. Lots more. "Over here," he shouted, gesturing toward a nearby cave entrance. "We need shelter." The drachnid hesitated, then nodded. As both rushed toward the cave, Jack couldn't help wondering if he'd just made a huge mistake. But on this deadly world, he realized their chances of survival might depend on working together. Human and drachnid, predator and prey, turned reluctant allies. Inside the cave, Jack and the drachnid maintenance technician sized each other up. The alien's environmental suit was badly damaged, with cracks spreading across its chest panel. Through the transparent faceplate, Jack could see the creature's gray, scaled skin and large, amber eyes that blinked sideways. The drachnid pointed to itself. "Ray," it said in broken English through its translator. "Not soldier. Fix things." Jack nodded slowly. "Jack, scout pilot." He gestured to the alien's damaged suit. "Your air supply." Ray tapped the gauge on his wrist. The readings were in alien script, but the red color made the message clear. Less than 2 hours of breathable atmosphere remained. Outside, the flying creatures continued their horrible screeching. The toxic wind howled, carrying particles that would eat through unprotected flesh in seconds. Jack checked his own suit. 6 hours of air left, but the outer layer was showing signs of corrosion from the atmosphere. "Need fix," Ray said, pointing at both their suits. The alien reached into a utility belt and pulled out a strange tool, then pointed at Jack's suit. Join systems. Share air. Live longer. Jack hesitated. Connecting his suit's life support to alien technology went against every regulation in the book. But regulations hadn't planned for being stranded on a death world with a Drachnid technician. A massive shadow passed over the cave entrance. One of the flying predators landed, its claws scraping against rock as it tried to squeeze inside. Jack fired 2 warning shots, making it retreat temporarily. "Okay," Jack agreed. "Do it fast." Ray worked with surprising speed and precision, connecting their suit systems with a series of tubes and adapters. The alien's 4-fingered hands moved with practiced skill, making adjustments and sealing connections. "Share air now," Ray explained. "Filter better. Last longer." The alien's translation device struggled with technical terms, but Jack understood the basics. By combining their suits' filtering systems, they could recycle their limited air supply more efficiently. As night fell, the temperature plummeted. The cave walls began to frost over with some kind of crystalline formation that gave off a faint, sickly glow. Jack's suit sensors warned of increasing toxicity in the air. The planet's atmosphere was actually becoming more dangerous after dark. They took turns watching the cave entrance. During his shift, Jack noticed how Ray shivered in the cold. Apparently, Drachnids were more susceptible to low temperatures than humans. Without thinking, he activated his suit's external heating system, extending the warmth to their shared life support connection. Ray's eyes widened in surprise. "Why help?" the alien asked. "Because we're both stuck here," Jack replied. "And I'm starting to think that everything we were told about each other's species might not be entirely true." A haunting cry echoed through the cave system, something different from the flying predators. Both human and alien instinctively moved closer together, their survival now literally connected by the umbilical tubes between their suits. The long night ahead would test not just their jury-rigged life support system, but also the fragile trust building between two beings who had been raised to see each other as enemies. When dawn broke, Jack and Ray emerged from their cave to survey the hellish landscape. Their combined suit systems had worked through the night, but both knew they couldn't stay put. The nearest automated rescue beacon was located in a research outpost 100 kilometers to the north. "Long walk," Ray said, pointing at the horizon with one of his 4 fingers. "Many dangers." The morning sun cast an eerie red glow through the toxic clouds. Already, the temperature was rising rapidly. Jack's suit registered 40 degrees Celsius and climbing. Ray's scales had taken on a paler shade, a sign of heat stress in Drachnids. They salvaged what they could from both crash sites. Jack found his emergency med kit and some ration bars. Ray recovered tools and a portable energy cell. The alien's strength proved invaluable, easily lifting heavy debris that Jack struggled with. Their journey began across the hostile terrain. Sharp rock formations jutted out like broken teeth, and pools of acidic liquid dotted the landscape. The connected suits forced them to walk in sync, like awkward dance partners. "Your species," Ray said as they carefully navigated a narrow ridge, "small but tough. Not stop walking." The alien's breathing was labored in the heat, but Jack's endurance seemed to impress him. "Your people aren't so bad yourself," Jack replied, helping Ray across a particularly treacherous gap. "That strength comes in handy." They covered 15 kilometers before the day's heat forced them to seek shelter. Finding a shallow cave, they noticed strange marks on the walls. Claw marks, but far larger than anything they'd seen from the flying creatures. Ground predators, too, Ray noted, pulling out a makeshift weapon fashioned from crash debris. Night hunters. Big. Jack checked their shared air supply. The recycling system was working better than expected, but they'd still need to find a way to replenish it soon. The toxic atmosphere was slowly degrading their filters. As they rested, Ray pulled out a small device, something like a photoprojector. It displayed an image of 3 young Drachnids. "My children," the alien explained. Wait for me. Jack nodded, understanding the universal language of family. He showed Ray a worn photo from his suit pocket, his sister's family back on Earth. For a moment, they weren't soldier and alien, but just two parents far from home. A distant roar echoed across the plain, reminding them of their predicament. Both quickly packed up, knowing they needed to find better shelter before nightfall. Their journey had only begun, and the deadly planet had many more challenges in store for the unlikely pair. "We move," Ray said, checking their suit connections. "Together, survive." Jack nodded, realizing how quickly he'd come to trust this being he was supposed to hate. "Together," he agreed, and they stepped back out into the toxic wasteland. The deeper cave system offered shelter from the toxic storms above, but its winding passages held secrets neither Jack nor Ray expected to find. Their suit lights revealed something artificial among the natural rock formations, a smooth metallic wall covered in strange symbols. "Not Drachnid writing," Ray said, running four-fingered hands over the ancient text. "Not human either. Older." Jack's light caught something ahead, an opening that led to a vast chamber. As they entered, both stood in silent awe. The chamber was filled with preserved technology, but it was like nothing either of them had seen before. Holographic displays flickered weakly to life, responding to their movement. "Some still works," Ray muttered, examining a control panel. The aliens' technical expertise proved valuable as ancient systems hummed to life. Three-dimensional images filled the air around them, telling a story neither wanted to see. The images showed a civilization, beings that had evolved on this very planet, despite its hostile environment. They had built great cities, protected from the toxic atmosphere by massive shields. Their technology had advanced beyond both human and Drachnid achievements. But then the images turned dark. The civilization had split into factions, each claiming superiority over the others. The shields that once protected their cities became weapons. In their final war, they had transformed their planet's atmosphere into the toxic hell it was today. "They kill themselves," Ray said quietly, "like we try to do now." Jack watched as the final images played out, the desperate attempts to survive, the last messages of regret, the slow death of an entire species. How many years ago did this happen? Ray studied the data streams. Many thousand years. Planet was different then. They make it this way. With war. A noise echoed through the chamber, something large moving in the tunnels. They quickly gathered what data they could, including maps showing the safest routes across the surface. But both were shaken by what they'd discovered. "Your people," Ray said as they prepared to leave. "Think Drachnid are monsters. My people say same about humans. These beings, they think same way. Now all dead. And their planet's trying to kill us both equally," Jack added with grim humor. He noticed Ray was studying a particular image, a family of the ancient beings, preserved in holographic form. Despite their alien appearance, the love between them was unmistakable. "We not so different," Ray said. "All want same thing. Life. Family. Future." The noise in the tunnels grew closer. As they hurried to find another exit, both carried not just the salvage data, but a heavy realization. They were retracing the steps of a civilization that had destroyed itself through the very hatred that their own peoples now embraced. The massive storm churned across the wasteland, turning the already toxic atmosphere into a swirling death cloud. Jack and Ray pushed forward, their connected suits creaking under the strain. The ancient ruins data had shown them a safer route, but the storm was forcing them to divert through dangerous territory. "Life signs ahead," Jack warned, checking his suit's sensors. Big ones. Through the red haze, they spotted movement. The ground predators Ray had warned about. Massive six-limbed creatures with natural armor that let them survive the caustic air. 3 of them emerged from behind rocky outcrops, cutting off the path ahead. "Must reach high ground," Ray said, pointing to a cliff face nearby. "They not good climbers." They began their ascent, helping each other over the jagged rocks. The predators followed, their claws easily finding purchase on the lower slopes. Jack's muscles burned with exhaustion, while Ray's superior strength was hampered by the increasing heat. Halfway up, Jack's foot slipped. A sharp rock edge sliced into his suit, causing an immediate pressure drop. Ray grabbed him before he could fall, but the damage was done. Toxic air began seeping in. Fix fast. Ray pulled out their remaining repair supplies, working frantically to seal the tear. The predators were getting closer. A shadow passed overhead. One of the flying creatures had joined the hunt. It dove straight at them, razor-sharp talons extended. Without hesitation, Ray pushed Jack against the cliff face and took the full impact. The creature's claws scraped across Ray's suit, leaving deep gouges. The alien technician fought back with surprising ferocity, using a piece of salvaged metal to drive the beast away. But the damage was severe. Ray's suit was now leaking worse than Jack's. "Your suit," Jack started, but Ray cut him off. "No time. Must climb." The alien's breathing was becoming labored, scales turning pale from toxic exposure. Jack made a quick decision. He pulled Ray's arm over his shoulder, taking as much weight as he could. Together, they scrambled upward, staying just ahead of the ground predators. Ray's strength was fading fast, but Jack refused to let go. They finally reached a narrow ledge the predators couldn't follow. Safe for the moment, Jack immediately began attempting repairs on Ray's suit. The alien tried to push him away. "Save air for yourself," Ray wheezed. "I slow you down." "Not happening," Jack replied firmly, working to seal the worst leaks. "We started this together. We're finishing it together." As the storm raged around them, human and alien worked to save each other's lives, their differences forgotten in the face of survival. The deadly planet had tried its best to kill them, but instead had forged something unprecedented: trust between sworn enemies. The rescue beacon was finally within range, its signal weakly pulsing on their sensors. But victory felt hollow as Jack and Ray assessed their situation in a sheltered cavern. Their linked suit systems were failing after days of abuse from the hostile environment. "Only one suit working now," Ray said, examining the diagnostic readings. "Other suit, dead soon." The Drachnid's voice was weak, still recovering from the earlier toxic exposure. Jack checked the numbers himself. Ray's suit was beyond repair, its life support systems critically damaged. His own suit could still function independently, but only had enough power and air for one person to reach the beacon. "Take your suit," Ray said firmly. "You survive. Tell truth about Ancient City. Maybe stop war." "No," Jack shook his head. "Your children are waiting. You have family." "You have family too," Ray countered. Saw picture. They stared at each other through their faceplates, each willing to die so the other could live. The bitter irony wasn't lost on either of them. A human and Drachnid arguing about sacrificing themselves for their supposed enemy. Ray suddenly straightened, eyes widening with an idea. The alien grabbed tools and began working on their suit's connecting systems. "What are you doing?" Jack asked. "Make one suit. Work for both," Ray explained between labored breaths. "Share everything. Air, power, heat, very dangerous. Must move as one. Breathe as one. Like a three-legged race, but for survival," Jack said, understanding the concept. "Will it work?" Ray's scaled hands moved with precision despite their exhaustion. "Maybe. If trust perfect. If move perfect. If breathe perfect. Few hours only. But maybe enough." The modified system would require them to synchronize every movement, every breath. Too much strain on either side would cause the whole thing to fail, killing them both. It was either perfect cooperation or death. A distant roar reminded them they were running out of time. Jack helped Ray make the final connections, their survival now depending entirely on working in perfect harmony. "Ready?" Ray asked, double-checking the seals. "Ready," Jack replied. Together. Together. They took their first synchronized step toward the beacon, Two beings moving as one. Former enemies, now literally sharing every breath, their survival depending on absolute trust in each other. The rescue beacon's steady pulse grew stronger as Jack and Ray approached it, their movements still perfectly synchronized. Their modified suit system had gotten them this far, but warning lights indicated it wouldn't last much longer. Each breath was a careful dance of timing and trust. A light appeared in the toxic sky, a search vessel, but as it grew closer, both could see it wasn't alone. Two ships were descending, one human, one drachnid. Each side had been searching for their missing crew member. This could get complicated, Jack muttered, watching the ships land on opposite sides of the beacon station. Armed soldiers from both sides emerged, immediately raising weapons at each other. The familiar sight of species against species felt absurd after everything Jack and Ray had experienced. "Hold your fire," Jack shouted through his suit's external speakers. Ray echoed the command in the drachnid language. They walked forward together, still connected by their jury-rigged life support system. The soldiers stared in confusion at the sight of a human and drachnid literally supporting each other's survival. "Lower weapons," Ray called out. "We have much to tell." The next hours were a blur of medical treatment and debriefing. Both sides were stunned by the evidence they brought back. Proof of the ancient civilization that had destroyed itself through war, and the remarkable story of their own survival. Weeks later, Jack stood before a joint council of human and drachnid leaders. Ray was beside him, both now wearing their own functioning suits but standing just as close as when they shared one. "We found more than ruins on that planet," Jack explained. "We found a warning. A civilization advanced enough to transform their world, destroyed by the same hatred we're fighting now." Ray stepped forward. "But we also found hope. If human and drachnid can trust with life, can share every breath to survive, maybe we can share galaxy too." Their stories spread across both civilizations. The image of mortal enemies keeping each other alive breath by breath became a powerful symbol. Peace talks began, tentatively at first, then with growing momentum. 1 year later, Jack and Ray stood at the entrance of the same cave where they'd first taken shelter. But this time, they led a joint research team, humans and drachnids working together to study the ancient ruins. "Strange," Ray said, watching the mixed crews setting up equipment. 1 year ago, we enemies. Now we teach others to work together." "Not that strange," Jack replied. "Sometimes it takes seeing someone else's mistakes to avoid making them yourself." They entered the cave as they had left it, together, but this time leading others toward a future neither had imagined possible when they first crashed on this deadly world. The toxic planet had tried to kill them, but instead had given both species something far more valuable: perspective.